Right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
About 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Oh, I was scared to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes. Rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
Not in this file.
To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the director of inspectional services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that These things have to be maintained, and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
Welcome to Firescape Services. We provide inspections and certifications, repairs, and load tests to remove violations in your area and nationwide.
So whether you're an inspector or whether you're somebody, you have your own home, you have your own building, the first thing is the law is very clear. It must be structurally sound and must be kept painted. So is the fire escape painted or is it not painted? And does it have more paint than rust or more rust than paint? So I can just look at this fire escape and say that I have evidence right now that there's more rust than paint on this fire escape. So immediately, if you were to call an inspector out here, the law doesn't allow him to pass this fire escape simply because it has more rust than paint. And structural means that if the fire escape is 50 to 75 years old, when any inspector is looking at it, he's got to see some evidence of maintenance. And maintenance means that I have to see a change in bolts, I have to see a change in rivets, I have to see some new hardware. Because when I go up to a fire escape, I see nothing but original hardware. That hardware is 50 to 75 years old. It's been out in the weather 50 to 75 years, and it's just impossible for not one of those rivets, one of those bolts to be changed in 50 to 75 years. And whenever that occurs, what I have is a fire escape that somebody's been constantly painting, but they've never done anything structurally to it. So now that makes the entire fire escape pretty much suspect. So now I have to be careful as to what I'm looking at to make sure that the structural now, on especially the major structural connections, are in good order.
Thank you for watching our video. Please call us today at 800-649-3333 to discuss your fire escape issue with a live inspector or schedule an inspection in your area today.
Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training Video. Here we are in Indianapolis, Indiana. And here we have a typical fire escape. This is part of our downtown walk-around training, and we're looking at fire escape that must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. The only way to really verify that any of these fire escapes are in good condition is to load test them, or in lieu of a load test, give me a guaranteed certification, which really means certifying all the connections on the fire escape. So if you look at the cantilever and look at all the rusty tiers, that's indication that water's getting into the connection. Look at the treads. They're all welded treads, and all the welds have been compromised. As you can see, water's been getting into them. You got original rivets, and those, the only way to test those is load test it or reinforce them or change them out. Open holes into the walls that holding up the whole cantilever system. So as you can see, treads, original rivets, original hardware. Look at all the stains. This fire escape is 100% in need of a full refurbishment. Otherwise, the only way to test this fire escape is just to load test it, and this fire escape is not ready for a load test. Nobody would ever load test such a fire escape. So the code and the requirement is load test and or certify the fire escape with a guaranteed refurbishment in lieu of a load test. And this fire escape is so old, no paint. This hasn't seen paint in 25 to 50 years. That's how long it's been here, but probably it looks like an active building. And we're here right now at the Quinta, actually on the Pearl and Jersey Street, corner of Pearl and Jersey Street. And as you can see, these typical fire escapes, that if you don't keep them painted, they start really just tearing apart. But again, the only way to verify that this fire escape's in good condition is load test it and or guaranteed refurbishment. And this one needs 100% refurbishment of all the connections. And then in lieu of a load test, you have a guaranteed certification on a confidence test. Any questions? Fire Escape Academy, Inspector Manessa's here, 800-649-3333. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training Video. Here we are in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we're here on Meridian in Washington, one of the back alleyways. And you're looking at an existing fire escape that must be either load tested or refurbished in lieu of a load test in order to pass a typical 5-year inspection. Just looking at it to see if there's any evidence of any maintenance. Usually these 50 to 75-year-old fire escapes have some evidence of maintenance, and you would see that on the treads, but everything looks like original hardware. Got rust in all the treads, so it doesn't look like anybody's been refurbishing any of these parts. You get a lot of the connections on the side is welded connections, tiebacks into the building, evidence of water intrusion. You got a lot of rusty tiers coming down. The ladder here has a hook on it, so it does look like it does drop correctly to the ground. But this fire escape doesn't have any evidence that I could see as an evidence of any maintenance in its 50 to 75 year life. It looks like some of the grading got swapped out, because a lot of times this is older grading. I mean, newer grading is this style, but it doesn't have any evidence that it's done any maintenance work of any kind, any structural. So a lot of times you would see, you know, older connections still there, for example, not being rebolted, redone. So this fire escape probably wouldn't pass a current load test unless some refurbishment happened. So you can also do that. You can refurbish, for example, all the treads and then just load test the platforms. Or in lieu of any expensive load test, you can refurbish the treads, refurbish the platforms, and then the engineer would most likely convince the fire marshal that you do not need a load test because the fire escape has been 100% refurbished. Fire Escape Academy, inspector training videos. We're here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Any questions? 800-649-33. Fire Escape Academy, inspector training video. Here we are in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're on the corner of Washington and Meridian. And we have a fire escape here, about a 10-story, looking for evidence that the fire escape has been maintained. Any evidence of maintenance, repairs. Now what we're finding here is nothing but original square head bolts and a fire escape that hasn't seen a paint job in at least 25 plus years at least. And the only way to guarantee a fire escape of this size is to load test it. You can't load test it though when it's got rust in all its connections. So in lieu of a load test, if I was to change that connection out and repair it 100% and then seal it with silicone, then I could forego the load test and give it a certification based on a certified repair of the entire structure in lieu of a load test. Another thing that you can also do on these fire escapes is do a partial. You can change the treads on all the staircases and then just load test the platforms. But even then, the platforms have to pass the test and have no connections, no rust in any of its connections prior to a load test. Otherwise, if it has rust in its connections, it must be load tested anyway and repaired and then load tested. But we've got quite a bit of rust on this fire escape here. Let's see. And a lot of times on a fire escape that's got this much rust, there's also missing treads. So as you can see, got a lot of rust in the treads. That's an indication that some of these treads on this 10-story building are ready to drop. Let me see if I can get beyond this noise. There you go. So you got a rusted connection right there. The gusset's totally blown out. You got a rusted connection in the back. AC units down below as part of this structure. You got rusty tiers into a lot of the cement tiebacks into the building. But again, most of the corners are full of rust on this fire escape. And it's all original hardware. Original hardware is anything that's a square bolt or a rivet. Square bolts are usually 50 to 75 years old. Rivets are usually 75 plus years old. And this fire escape, I'm trying to look for evidence of any maintenance, and I can't find anything. Everything's original hardware. So this fire escape, as is, would not be able to be load tested because it needs to have either a partial or full refurbishment prior to a full load test. But if the owner refurbishes 100% of the entire fire escape, remove all the rust on its internal connections, a structural engineer would sign off on a certified repair in lieu of a load test on such a fire escape. Load tests are very expensive. They don't buy any paint, they don't buy any bolts, and it's mainly money used to move weights around the entire fire escape. So if you have any questions, this is Fire Escape Academy, inspector training videos. We're here in Indianapolis, Indiana, training on fire escapes in the downtown walk-around. Any questions? 800-649-3. Fire Escape Academy, inspector training video. Here we are in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we're looking at fire escape doing downtown walk-arounds. We're on the corner of Pennsylvania and Court. And we have a fire escape here. Fire escapes must be structurally sound, must be kept painted, and there's no paint on this fire escape here. Number two, fire escapes all must be load tested, or in lieu of a load test, it must be refurbished to avoid the load test. One of the things that we look for to see whether or not this fire escape can be load tested is evidence of maintenance. You got original hardware, welded connections that the water has gotten into every one of these connections, cement issues, out of balance cantilever, welded treads, 100% rust. This thing took about 25 years to rust 100%. Weighted balance that doesn't have a release arm. Through bolted back into the building. So the only way to guarantee that this fire escape is in good condition is to load test it. Some companies will load test it, some companies will not load test it in the as-is condition, simply because when you let this much rust grow on a fire escape, the welds are compromised because you didn't seal them. But it's an all welded fire escape. No evidence of maintenance. All original hardware. See the square heads? Square head bolts. All original hardware on this fire escape still. So that's an indication that this fire escape, if you go into these corners and these connections, all original hardware. So if we were asked to load test this fire escape, we would not load test it, simply because it needs a refurbishment in lieu of a load test. Sometimes what we can do is a partial load test, where we change all the bolts out on the stairs, but not necessarily on the platforms, and then as long as the platforms pass a visual inspection, we can load test the platforms only. And then the stairs do not have to be load tested because they were refurbished or rebolted. But in lieu of a load test, which is very costly, doesn't buy any paint, doesn't buy any bolts, we recommend highly that everybody just refurbish 100% of the fire escape and forego the load test, because you've refurbished 100% of the fire escape, and this cantilever gets rebalanced and you have a functioning fire escape. That the load test now cycle should be every 25 years as recommended by the standards out there. Any questions? Fire Escape Academy, Inspector Video. We're here in Indianapolis, Indiana. 800-649-3333. Fire Escape Academy, Inspector Training Video. Not too often do we have helicopters taking off. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're looking at fire escapes. We're here behind the La Quinta. Fire escape inspector training, and we're looking at typical things. Fire escapes must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. This fire escape looks like it's due for a paint job, so that's one of the violations. You got tears coming down, indicating that water's been getting into the connections. Looking for evidence of any maintenance, and a lot of times on a 50 to 75-year-old fire escape, you have to have some new hex head bolts here and there somewhere. I'm seeing none. You have to have some new hex head bolts on the supports. I'm seeing none. Cantilever, it's got a lot of rust built up on the cantilever. It looks like it's out of balance, twisting. So this cantilever doesn't look so hot. And again, even on the cantilever, no evidence of maintenance anywhere. Two things in order to guarantee this fire escape. The law requires you load test it, and I wouldn't load test it in the as-is condition, or in lieu of a load test, you go in and reinforce and or replace all these rivets. And if you do that and you refurbish, it's a guaranteed recertification of the fire escape, and reattach it back into the building, because you don't know what's going on with the connections into the wall. You do that and you don't have to load test this fire escape. So in lieu of a load test, you can refurbish a fire escape in lieu of a load test. You can also refurbish certain things and load test the rest. So for example, I can change all the treads on the platform, on these staircases. So change all the staircases out with new bolting. But then the platforms, because I don't want to refurbish that, I can load test it. And as long as none of the connections have any problem with the connections on the gussets, then yes, I can load test it. But a lot of times it's cheaper to refurbish the entire fire escape. That way the load test cycle is about every 25 years you're looking at the load test. You definitely got to go into the wall though with you got to duplicate all these connections into the wall, or you got to verify them. And the only way to verify them is through a load test, or duplicate the connection, or go inside and show that the plating is in good condition. So there's verification required of all the connections back into the building. But this fire escape, it's an active building. I see lights on, I see a fan inside going on. So this looks like an active building, but this fire escape is not in condition, and you can tell by, look at all the rust on the treads. One of these treads is ready to go. So, any questions? This is Farescape Engineer Inspector Meneses, 800-649-3333. And these are Farescape Academy Inspector Training videos. We're here in Indianapolis, Indiana. But at the end, it talks about the fire code official is authorized to require testing or other satisfactory evidence. So this is the same write-up as you have here on the one from New Jersey, and it states the same.
Did you highlight that?
Depending on the structural condition, a load test of any fire escape shall be conducted before it is returned to service. So, and it also says here that brings it back to you guys. If the fire escape is found to be in a state of deterioration, which is only about the paint job, or determined to be unsafe, which is a structural issue that you have, the fire official shall be required. The fire escape shall be repaired immediately. Depending upon the structural condition, a load test of any fire escape should be conducted before the fire escape is returned to service. And your code, which is what is on its violation here, it says right here that the first piece of it is all about, if you're going to build a new one, it's 100 pounds per square foot. So that's all engineering. That's just some engineer satisfying that and getting a permit built on that. But then the last line of your code, 1027.16.5, materials and strength, it says, the fire code official is authorized to require testing or other satisfactory evidence. And this is what I talked to you about. So no one can touch a sprinkler system without sitting down with you and showing some plan. No one is authorized to touch a alarm system of any kind without having a plan, permits and plans, but there's always this communication. Fire escapes, which is the bastard child of egress, has always been hidden outside. Nobody cares. They've been fixing them without permits. They've been painting them without permits. They've been replacing them sometimes without permits. So this is the only line you need that says you walk in and the only violation you're ever going to write is test when you're writing a violation. Repair, paint, test. So as soon as you walk up to any fire escape that's rusted, you don't tell what tread, you don't pinpoint anything. What we teach nationwide is you write a violation that always says repair it, paint it, test it. And they're always going to ask you, what's this test mean? And you're going to say, well, as 1027.16 says, a fire official is authorized to require testing, which is a load test, or other satisfactory evidence. So the other satisfactory evidence, which we talked about, is do you want to fix some of your fire escape and load the rest? Do you want to fix it all and refurbish it all today and avoid the load test altogether? Get your structural engineer to provide me with a inspection criteria letter. We'll sit down with the chief, with the fire official, the fire marshal, and then if the plan is good, we'll initiate this program and forego the load test. Once the fire escape is fully refurbished, and we're doing that to 500 East Monroe, the recommended live test, load testing is every 25 years, but you're still going to test it every 5 years with an inspection. Now, it doesn't mean, because you said there is no 5-year rule here. You can make this thing get load tested as often as you want, but if it's been refurbished, a load test on average is every 25 years. If one is even required, because then you can just do individual pull tests and stuff. You have a question?
No, I was going to.
Oh, here. So is everybody pretty much here? I'm going to show you, I'm going to play one piece of...
What's your YouTube channel that you were talking about?
I'm going to put it online for you right now. And it's called Farescape Academy and Farescape Engineers. Those are the two channels. Farescape Academy is all inspector training. It's all fire code, building code, and housing official training. The Farescape Engineers is nothing but fire escapes that are online right now, inspections all over the country, and the repair criteria of what needs to be done. We're unique, and we're the only ones that put out a fire escape repair on a YouTube channel that not only tells you what needs to be done, but also gives you the slideshow at the end of it. We do that so that all these vendors out there don't have an excuse, oh, I didn't know what you wanted, but it also lets the inspector see what's going on. So the 500 Monroe will be on the internet, so I don't have to give you a document. Even though I'm going to send you the hard copy stuff, you can get quickly online, because if a report takes 1 to 2 weeks to get out, the video and the slideshows are already up online within 3 days.
Their problem that they had here is finding somebody who would inspect it and fix it.
By the way, let's get that clear. Very rare you have two people that can do both, inspect it and repair it. So let me tell you who can inspect all your fire escapes. structural engineers that are properly trained and know what to do, they can inspect any fire escape. So I'm not the only guy that can do this. Any ornamental ironwork guy can fix this fire escape if he has the proper guidance. He doesn't want to fix it because it's like, to him it's like an elephant. He's like, dude, I don't want to even touch this thing. But any ornamental ironwork can fix this. Any structural engineer and properly trained architect or fire escape engineer can inspect these fire escapes. So I'm not the only guy.
But the fire escape engineers, they have to, there's only 2 certificates out of 2 states.
Right, California and Boston has licenses, and again, structural engineers and or others acceptable to the building official. So whoever, like myself, I would try to qualify myself, but so would an architect want to qualify himself with you. But if ever I get resistance from an official says, no, I don't want you, I'm still able to do the job, but I have to piggyback myself with a local structural engineer to basically sign off all the documents that we use. So the structural engineer can show up at the end regardless, because all state laws are structural engineers in every 50 states. The majority of the states it's structural engineers and architects, and in some states it's structural engineers, architects, and others are qualified and acceptable to the building official holding some license or credentials. Okay, so let me play one. Of this Channel 7 news pieces here. And then we'll go through a little bit of the stuff that we've already done today. And I'm going to go over industry standard confidence tests. I'm going to go over industry standard tags. And these confidence tests, if you start reading these confidence tests, which is already in use by Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Tacoma, several cities in New Jersey, Massachusetts. This is basically, there was no confidence test out there. So we created one and we let the city officials and the fire departments use these as basically an industry standard guideline so you don't get opinion letters from these people, because most of the time you get an opinion letter from a structural engineer who did or did not get on the fire escape, and he writes, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is structurally sound and has been kept painted. And you're like, oh great, and you put that in, and only to have a fireman fall from the fire escape 2 years later, and that paper didn't save the fireman from falling. So that's where we're...
I've talked to Shanowski, and he's had nothing to do with it. It's too political, isn't it? For him? Isn't that what you ran into, Mitch, every time?
Well, you brought up a very good point. These tags. City of Seattle, they made every fire escape must have a tag. And all you're doing, just like an elevator, does every elevator in the city have to have a tag? Perfect. So you want a tag on every fire escape. Not to determine whether it's good or bad, you just want a tag on it to have its condition. By the way, Portland, Oregon, as of January, we gave a class similar to this, and 3 months later they made a state code change. So I'll put you in contact with Inspector A.J. Jackson, and she'll show you that now they went through the whole thing of saying this is very good, and instead of going from dead last now, they're number 1 in the nation as, and if you want to know how to make a state code change, we'll go through that. But basically, you're going to be able to, but this is a 3 to 5 year program. You just want to put one of these tags on every fire escape to identify its condition. You putting a tag that's going to have your city information on here, not mine, your city information. The only one I will ever have my information on, or some structural engineer will have his information, is the white one. Because this is a certified fire escape. In Louisville load test, he will put up a certified tag. In the middle of the night when there's a fire, guess what your firemen need to see? A white one. There's a white one on it, they get on. So this is nothing but a safety program that you guys are initiating over the next 3 to 5 years to identify every fire escape and put a tag. You will put in, while you're inspecting any and all fire escapes anywhere, not fire escapes, you're on any building nearby. There's a fire escape there, you go to your car, because you have 50 of these in your car, 50 yellows, 50 reds. And you say, well, if there isn't anything dangling, if there's no life safety issue that you can generally see, you will put a tag on it. And when you read the top of this tag, it has a very important thing. It says right on top of the tag, contact fire official. That's step 1. Step 2, it says have your fire escape inspected, and it says by a structural engineer or others acceptable. And then it says step 3, have it serviced and have it load tested. So, but when you put this tag, you just come back to your office and you just put it down as another identified location in your city that has a tag. Now the 30-day letter goes out. And that 30-day letter goes out by you guys as part of your normal awareness to a building that says, I've identified a fire escape on your building, I need a copy of your current certificate on it. Guess what they're gonna say? Evidence of maintenance or a copy of your certificate?
What?
What? So, and that's okay, it's cool. So then you send them another letter, well, then you need to have your fire escape load tested and or refurbished. Pick one. Now you give them another 30 days, right? Those are for the people who call you up because they saw a tag on their fire escape or they received a letter in 30 days. What about the guys that ignore you after 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days? What's the answer there?
Court.
Well, like we said, there's fines and permits and fees, because it says right there, fines, permits, and fees may apply if you let this thing. So as soon as you put a tag on it and the guy doesn't fix it for 6 months or 6 years, you don't care. Because right now, your fireman ain't getting on it, because if there's a yellow or a red tag on a fire escape, you're not getting on it. And isn't that what you guys are all about? Because as you know, the gray-haired guys on the line tell the young-haired guys on the line, in case of fire, don't use the fire escape. It's a standard. It's the whisper. It's the silent whisper. It's like, in case of fire, use your ladders, use your apparatus. Don't ever get on these fire escapes. And it's a true statement. But as soon as you get on there and it's got a white one on it, what can you do?
Well, the problem is you're probably not going to see these, because if you put them at the
No,
bottom,
they're always at the bottom, 7 to 10 feet off the
But if
ground.
a guy goes to get on it from up above, you don't, unless somebody's noted it down below. Like
I know.
you're on,
This is coming out.
if you're coming out of the building.
No. This is when you guys arrive. You look up, you see a tag. It's got to be it's got to be posted 7 to 10 feet off the ground, and it's for your guys to know that the fire escape is safe to get on it. Not for anybody in the building.
We
They're
don't
already.
always notice that we go in the front door, we go up the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
That gets blocked off. The only way out is, I'm using this fire escape.
Yeah, but again, in the next 3 to 5 years, you're just tagging these things up. How, when, and when they get fixed is going to be political. It's going to be timing. It's going to be many other factors. But all you need now is some sort of red flag for your men that says, when you get there, you see a white one, get on it. You see a yellow or a red one, proceed with caution. You see a red one, don't ever get on a red one.
Our tree right now is pretty much just
Yeah, right. But if we can get them all back online, not only is the occupants going to be safer, so are all your firemen.
Is that a Dubs list issue? Because those are means of egress, and that's counted.
It depends on whether that's one of the means of egress.
Most of them are, aren't they?
So I don't want to say.
Aren't they?
I don't want to get in general.
All right.
Generalizing, but I don't want to look each one of them.
All right, let's see a video here. And this was. I'm gonna let it load up a little bit. This, you guys remember in Rhode Island, the station night fire killed 100 people in the basement. Okay. Right after that, Boston is north of this area. The Channel 7 news reporter wanted to do a piece on fire escapes. Hey, I wanted to let people know that they can use fire escapes. When she spoke with me, I said, you know that 80% of the stuff I inspect always fails? No way, there's laws, there's this and that. So I taught her a 15-minute class on how to do fire escapes downtown, just like you. And then she went out all by herself. So what was supposed to be a 1-minute piece actually became a 4-minute piece. And we use this. The problem that you have here, everybody has the same problem. Everybody's been ignoring fire escapes for 50 to 75 years. This is not unique. Any place that's an industrial city that had buildings over 5 or 10 stories, this was the standard. But if you go here to Fire Escape Academy, you're going to see in here association classes that we've done, whether it be an awareness in Oregon, an awareness in New Jersey, an awareness in Chicago, an awareness to a what do you call it? Facilities, not facilities, but housing inspectors. Portland, Oregon, downtown walk-around similar to what you have. So when you go on here, and I can send you the playlist, so I have playlists here. So if I was to send you a playlist, and I can send a lot of these to you, and this would become part of the playlist, it would include this Channel 7 news piece for future training, includes downtown walk-around, but I would send you either the seminar class that I did in East Orange, Houston, Texas, Dallas, but let me show you one here that has nothing but life safety issues. There's 43 videos. There's over 500 videos here. So you'll always find something that's similar to your region, but But the greatest part about it is the downtown walkarounds is probably where you're going to get your best training because it's one-on-one training. So if you come in here, and I was going to show you one inspector, the state inspector training, so I have had opportunities where I've had a state inspector be with me, college training, you know, at colleges, nationwide seminars. If I send you this link to this nationwide seminar, there's 32 training videos in there from all over the country. So I'm just going to use one. Let's use a seminar in Lowell. This was to a building department, similar to this, about 6 guys in a class. And I'll just play for a few seconds of it, what it is, and then and you go this at your leisure because I'll send you all the links. And if you just type in on any YouTube channel, Firescape Academy, everything shows up, and then you pick the ones you want. Similar class, slideshow presentation. Okay, so this is me and their guys. This is the fire official. So you can stop and go ahead at any time. And I put it together, this is probably a 2-hour class now, and I put it together so that at the end it also has the downtown walkarounds as part of the class. So if you come in here, let me see if I can, actually, pull it right off at the top here. So as you can see, they're already all listed here. Let me just pull one that says an hour and something. I'll see, always somebody trying to reach me. So that one that I was just showing you, which is the association there, it's an hour and 57 minutes. But it's part of the class, but also some of the downtown walk-around all joined together and edited together. So I'm just going to try to move it forward. But it is sucking out of a phone, so you're going to have to be patient while it's... And right now there's 439 videos total in the Academy training, including some of the direct training of the inspectors on the downtown walk-around. So wait for it to load up. So I include the show you just saw on here. Let me just move it way up here and see if it'll play it forward. So again, a lot of these, the slideshow will be brought in, and then as soon as you get towards the end here, it'll be part of the downtown walk-around. And the downtown walk-around, we're actually going to play your videos today as the downtown walk-around because we just loaded onto here. So let's take a look at some of the buildings, and then we'll just get into the paperwork, and you can just leave it the question.
Look at all this smashed release arm.
So this is me and the building commissioner of that city right after his class. Sorry that it's trying to buffer and catch up, but you guys get the general idea is that there's nothing like live training to sort of get it. So today's star of the show is going to be Mike over here. So I'm gonna stop this thing from happening because it's slower than slow. So let me do that. So before it.
Yeah, it's in the open position.
So there's the commissioner.
Out of balance.
Smashed from
let's see where it's pinned, and it got hit by a truck.
So let me go down just to your video. You want to leave it on, and then we'll open it up to questions, and we'll get right into it because this is not really. I apologize for the haphazardness of it. This is going to be one of those quickly classes, and we're really going to just rely on some of the videos that he and I did today.
Yeah, you didn't get in town till 5 last night.
Right. So let me throw some these videos here for you to. While it's loading, hold on a second.
All right. Well, it's, I just got to let it open up to the other side on this. Let's talk about some of the questions that we have on this sheet here. And then I'll stop playing some of his videos, and then we'll open up to questions. When you have the class that we teach, you know, this fall is what happened in Boston. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning photograph here. A fireman was actually on the fire escape when this thing gave way. The woman died, the child survived. This happened in '73, and it won a Pulitzer Prize. It's a pretty famous photograph that basically helped change the code in Massachusetts. And the code in Massachusetts was the fire escapes must be maintained at all times. Same code you guys have here. You don't have a 5-year rule that forces it to be done all the time. So because of that, fire escapes tend to fall to the wayside like they did here. It was right after that that they then changed the rule that you must prove it every 5 years with a load test or a structural engineering inspection. These are some of the classes that we teach at the academies. Some of the classes I teach is 6 hours long, and you can use it for continuing ed credits. I can't give you the credit, but if your association brings me in as a speaker, and I usually speak for free, you get your continuing ed credits for the same class. This is the photograph. This is what happened in '73. And then you can see the varying sequence of the photos. So if you want to clip this and put this on your wall of your cubicle as a reminder as to why fire escapes need your attention. Okay. This is the credentials. So whenever we go into any city, we have to send you our credentials, including the only 2 licenses available to be a fire escape inspector. One's out of Boston, put out by the building department. One's out of California, put out by the fire department. Now, if I'm not accepted to inspect the fire escapes in your area because of these credentials and the fact that we teach classes, and that's one of the reasons why we teach class, then we would piggyback ourselves with a structural engineer. We were brought in on this particular fire escape anyway by a structural engineer who wanted us to inspect it. So even there's structural engineers out there that don't know what to do with these things, and they call an expert like us to look at it. But not always does the fact that they have a structural engineer's license mean that they know what they're doing. I was in Chicago yesterday looking at 3 fire escapes on a 120-unit condo complex, lofts, factory. And the letter that I have, which it's in the car, I don't have it here with me, it says by a structural engineer with his stamp, says the fire escapes are all satisfactory. I went there because all I was doing was putting a bid on the job using that as a guide. So I do my walkthrough anyway. One of the last fire escape I inspected was in the state of collapse, was ready to drop. Now the owner of the building was very pissed off. He's saying, my structural engineer wouldn't see something like this? And I said, sir, I'm just going to give you the photographs. So I just gave him the photographs associated with it. I said, hey, I'm only bringing you the information that, first of all, if I'm going to fix this fire escape based off what this guy says, I don't even want this job because my men are going to get hurt getting on it. But by the way, you have a fire escape that's ready to collapse on this 120-unit building that the support brackets are all rotted out. There's nothing there holding them. And I had to get off this building very quickly on that particular fire escape. So he was a little disturbed about that situation. Tags. These tags, this is industry standard documentation. We've been teaching this class for probably at least 5 years. My first success story was actually Seattle, Washington. And these tags are a variation of what Seattle is doing, because Seattle wants 19-inch tags by 11 inches high. I think they're kind of monstrous. But Tacoma, it has a smaller tag. Portland is going to be going with, Portland, Oregon is going to be going with these tags. All the cities down in the East Coast, in Massachusetts, in New York, in New Jersey, they like this size tag. This is a New Jersey tag. But every tag looks the same in that the only thing I change is this little space here that says what the code number is. I write your code there, I put your city information on there. The rest of the tag stays the same. It's nothing but general code information on these tags. Okay? So there's nothing here that's going to be like specific to an industry or specific to a company or specific. This is a general tag talking about the code.
It's not promoting you.
No, our name is not on there, but basically it's a condition tag. And as I mentioned before, when you speak with Portland, Oregon, they wrote into the code as effective January that all fire escapes must be tagged, and they have it called signage. They wrote a code to it that's called signage. And what they want is a tag somewhere on the fire escape, 7 to 10 feet off the ground. They want it to have dates on it when it was inspected and when the next 5 year is. And they want to have information on the tag that tells you about the general condition, yellow, red, or white. So they wrote the code, and you now, instead of reinventing the wheel, you get in touch with AJ Jackson, which is the Portland Fire Prevention. You say, how'd you do it, and what do I have to do so that I can just copy and paste and push this down the line? You may not want to change state code, but you may want to change just your city code. And she'll tell you how to do that. Because Portland became the model that the rest of the state said, hey, if you're going to do it, we're all going to do it. What do we have to do for a state code? All right. And as we, this thing just loads up. So the next thing is the confidence test. Now, the reason why Seattle brought me in is because guess what they had? 3 guys up on a fire escape having a smoke, and guess what happened to the fire escape? That was lag bolted into a wood structure. Ripped off the building, they all fell to the ground, they all got hurt, they all got maimed, nobody got hurt, they started suing everybody. So the city brought me in 3 to 5 years ago, and what they do, they had, I think, was probably one of the worst inspection regimes because there wasn't inspection. You could literally self-inspect your fire escape to a certain degree and send a notice back to the city, and it just got totally out of control. So we came in, gave a class just like this, talked about confidence tests. There was none in the nation, so we invented one. And all the confidence test is nothing but a questionnaire for the structural engineer. This confidence test has nothing to do with you. This confidence test scares the hell out of the guy who's claiming to tell you that instead of giving you an opinion that says the fire escape is to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, is there any wiggle room there if I say that to you, if I give you an opinion letter? Can I use those disclaimers in my benefit? To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, today the fire escape looks structurally sound and has been kept painted. Today. Is there any wiggle room so in case something tragic happens that
Sure.
You can get me? But if you read this confidence test, what it is, it broke it up into 2 parts. It broke it up into general, which is, let's talk about the paint and some of the electrical stuff nearby and some of the doors coming to the fire escape. And then a structural question. It's asking you specific. Have you checked the fire escape? Is every connection on the fire escape free of internal rust? Is every connection on the fire escape either been load tested or refurbished? Is every connection into the building where you can't see been verified through through exploratory work and destructive, removing bricks and stuff? Or have you nullified that by putting in a new connection to basically say, I don't want to destroy the building, it's cheaper for me to put a new connection into this building than it is to verify the old one? And is the fire escape cantilevers balanced, and will they drop 2 to 3 feet per second when they hit the ground and stay down? So all these, and is the catwalk continuous and over a roof to a public way? So these are all the questions that we ask, that this confidence test will scare the hell out of anybody giving you an opinion letter. And this right now is a confidence test. If you want to go to seattle.org, go to their fire prevention, go to confidence test. They have a ton of confidence tests. They have sprinkler confidence tests. They have standard testing sheets that any company that is testing for them would go there and grab it. Guess what's there also? A fire escape confidence test. You go to Tacoma, there's a fire escape confidence test that they copied from it. So if you want an existing confidence test, this is the Seattle one. And if all I have to do is take and put in your codes here, whatever that code you just gave me, I'm going to put there, and I'm going to write your code in here. So this is an industry standard documentation that does not have my name on it anywhere, and it's basically you use it to have somebody, fill out the form. They may throw at you, well, is this a state document? Is da-da-da-da? You say, listen, you know what? You don't have to fill out this form. But if you want to answer every question that's on this form on your letterhead, Mr. Jack Engineering from where? Because you'll get these kind of people. I need these questions answered on your letterhead. Otherwise, attach this form. And so by simply you going on to seattle.gov, this is it'll come to you in a PDF or a Word document, and you just eliminate your city and you put your city, you don't even need me. We do it for you. We come in there because that's part of our training, and this is what we do to build relationships with a lot of fire departments. So this is there. Tacoma went one better, and because Seattle didn't, they have the yearly test. Now the yearly test, if you look at the questions on the yearly test, it's a simple thing. They ask you 3 questions. They always do the 5-year, but they have this yearly, and they put this yearly test strictly on the ownership and the management of the building. And you have to answer these 3 questions. Bolt supports are not damaged or rusted. Paint is in good condition, and all moving parts, ladders, stairways, and doors to the fire escape are working. And sign it. So you guys do a yearly anyway. So this yearly is going to be something that the guy from the building is going to hand to you that he's done this, and he says that he's walked it. Or you make the guy walk it. You don't have to walk the fire escape. But you can make the guy walk it while you're watching him, and then have him sign this all over to you. So there's your yearly. Here's your 5-year. And what's your question?
You're familiar with the reporting software for like sprinkler systems fire alarms, where they have to report to you. It's a free database for fire departments, and the fee is it's added on to their inspection reports. They send them to us. They maintain the records. If one's out of date, they notify you. You're familiar with that software?
I'm familiar that you guys have a lot of software out there that you use, but you're basically pushing on this is sort of, let me remind you that this is out of either non-compliance or that your data's coming up.
I was wondering if this would fall into something like that.
We would throw ourselves onto these people if that's what you're implying, but fire escapes are the bastard child of egress. We're not thought about. We're the last thing anybody, you probably deal more with, issues with plutonium than you do, the fire escapes, and it's 50% of your needs of egress.
This is just as important as not.
If you give me the information, I'll hook up with them and make this. This is a checklist item. One of the things that we're going to tell you that's going to make this something that's going to be in the front. You have a checklist item when you go into a building, and let's say the last thing in order for them to occupy a building is a smoke detector, right? If you add one more thing to your checklist, you say smoke detectors are fine. This building is beautiful, great job. I just need one thing. When I check off the smoke detector, I need a copy of your current certification for the fire escape that's on the outside of this building, and you're ready to go, man. Everything is the best I've ever seen. I just need a copy of your current certificate. And what are they going to say? Huh? You say, not a problem. I'm still going to sign off on this, but now let me just take a quick look at your fire escape, because it's supposed to have a tag. There's a city ordinance here that said every building must have a tag regardless of condition. So, I got dangling treads. I was going to give you this occupancy, but now I'm not, because I see dangling treads. You got a life safety issue, and this is actually a red tag. Or, it doesn't look that bad. If you get on this right away and get this thing inspected right away, you can start occupying your building. Or at that time, you make a determination. But you make it a checklist item. The second thing that Boston did after that fire, building departments. You can pull any permit you want on any building, but you can't close it. In the closing of every permit, whether you're changing a toilet or putting on a new roof, I need a copy of your current fire escape affidavit, because your second means of egress is a fire escape. I need a copy of it for my record to close your permit. So there's the people that are going to start helping you. Permits means money's being spent on that building. They can't close the permits, and they're not going to enforce it. They're going to make you aware that there's no permit. There's no current certification. So that permit becomes and stays suspended for a while. It stays held pending closure until you guys get a certificate on it. That helps you guys in any way. That's what they did, is basically start making a checklist item. So if you have checklists for the fire department on a building, add this as a checklist, and you just mentioned something else. So let's, I'm going to see if this thing is,
to get anything through this city, you have to consider the cost. We got to get something, but what would you estimate the inspection cost per floor? I know you can't say per.
I can help you. Yep. A structural engineer, on average, will charge you anywhere from $75 to $175. Is that an accurate statement? Any structural engineer will work for you for anywhere from $75 to $175 or more.
An hour?
An hour. An average fire escape system of 5 stories should burn up about 5 hours, no more than 10, on average. Between inspecting it, getting back, writing some sort of report, speaking with you, dealing with you, 5 to 10 hours.
So you're saying about $1,000.
Let's say the average is $100. So 5 to 10 hours could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000, or it could be $1,000 to $1,500. But you're looking at, so that's structural engineers. Our fee structure normally, depending on the residential, is anywhere from $189 to $489 for residential inspections, $49 to $989 for typical commercial 1 to 5 story residential involving some structural engineer, and then it's $1,000 to $5,000 depending on the structural adequacy or who we're tied in with. This particular building that we're doing in East Bend Road, tying in with an engineering firm, we only charge them $1,500 to do that inspection. So that's not going to be the biggest cost associated, because minimally they can find a structural engineer in your area who will tie in with the inspector and send you inspection criteria list. And that inspection criteria list will tell you what he's looking to do on that particular fire escape. Okay? So.
And then average repairs, I mean, it all depends on what you're going to find.
Sure,
in them.
I can give you some numbers. An average staircase platform could run anywhere from full repair, cementing, and full repainting, $3 to $5 grand a floor. You got 10 floors, could be 30 to 50 grand to refurbish an entire fire escape, tying it back into the building, and give it a full paint job.
But then that's gonna
So
last
there's no
you-
magic in numbers.
25 years, that's gonna last you a long time.
Well, if again, every connection is gonna get sealed with 50-year silicone. The only thing this client will ever deal with that fire escape with 50-year silicone in every connection is just a paint job. And it's a perfect example.
Regardless, it all comes down to less than one liability piece.
We were there looking at a building right across the street. Brand new, painted black. As a matter of fact, when we walked up to this baby, she was painted. We thought she was brand new. And in actuality, she was
Painted over all the
painted over all the rust, all welded. And when he looked at it, at closer investigation, he saw all the bulges on the treads from the rust still in there, and they just basically painted it. And you probably have a certificate from that from some structural engineer who didn't know what to look for either, even though he's a structural engineer.
I'm sure we don't have anything on
The fire escape is basically the reason why the structural engineers don't want to touch them is because they're 6 times the work, 1/6 the pay. They can't make their 5, 10. Say again?
Probably didn't even pull a permit.
Well, here's a great thing. Why would I need to pull a permit if all I was doing was painting it? There's no paint permits. So everybody fixes their fire escape under the so-called paint. What are you doing? Painting the fire escape. Why? Because somebody wrote them a scrape and paint violation. And that's what's been written for the past 50 to 75 years, is scrape and paint violations.
Are you from, are there any, do you know of any ANSI, like the ladder laws, is any of those that would be in place already
For which part?
for fire escapes?
No, what do you mean by the ladder?
Like ladders off fire trucks have to be tested every year.
Yeah, the fire escape, the fire escape ladder is part of the fire escape inspection. It gets load tested. You know what I'm saying? For all its connection, it's part of the inspection. The ladders to the roof are inspected, and we saw some fire escapes that the bolts were all shot on those things.
But I mean, are any of them in play, are any of them that you're aware of right now that has a timeline that has to have them tested?
No, the ladders are, the way you inspect any other ladders associated with your situation, doesn't even come to play in the fire escape. They get scooped up in that they're part of the fire escape, and they're a metal ladder. And here's why they're not so worried about the metal ladders. 2 flats, punched holes, the bar goes through it and it gets welded on the outside. So even if the welds give, the fact that they're punched through the flat, there's your strength.
So we're probably not, there's nothing in place, we have to have something put in place before we even.
I'm just gonna get
timeline.
25. You're just talking about the ladder though.
I'm talking about the whole fire escape.
Some of these buildings, the ladder is the fire escape.
I didn't know if ANSI covered the fire escapes at all.
Showing that picture.
Because it's like right here, this just says it has to be done, it don't give you any kind of timeline. It's really this code almost might as well be worthless in there, because it gives you no,
City codes for it.
we have to add something.
It's every 5 years, correct?
For what? For your code? You don't have a 5-year code. You have,
We don't
it
have
must be
any.
maintained at all times.
Everybody else is 5-year though?
Most states have adopted the 5-year rule. So you can make it, but here's the best thing, you can quickly bypass this whole thing. If the code has not caught up with you, what you basically do is, through a local ordinance, you make every fire escape be inspected every 5 years. But just going through the identification, by you wanting every fire escape identified, you bypass that anyway, because you want a tag on every fire escape. For some reason, my fire escape the videos that we did doesn't want to play on this particular one here. So let me, I'm going to bring up one of the videos that I've done that I know shows a downtown walk around. So let me, it's the same exact scenario. So let me do that. All right, so now that we have the tags, and while I'm shutting this down and turning it on, confidence test. So I'll make a confidence test for you guys. Now, let's talk about repair guidelines. You want to know what a load test is? Because everybody keeps it like it's a secret story. I got a load test right on the top corner. You know the guidelines and what a load test is? I mean, this is all shrunk small so I can keep the paper down, guys.
Whoa.
No. But basically, here's a load test.
I had LASIK.
Here's a load test. You take any square platform, 5 by 5, it's 25 square feet. Times 100 pounds per square foot, that's 2,500 pounds. I got to put lead, sand, water, 2,500 pounds of something on there for 30 minutes. Take measurements before, take measurements during, take measurements after. Does everybody know what a passing test looks like? Anybody know what a fail test looks like? And depends where you are at when it falls. So now you know why load testing is not something that everybody wants to do, simply because there's dangers with it. That's why refurbishment of a fire escape is much cheaper. On average, that fire escape there, to be load tested at, if it was in pristine condition and it was tied back, you're probably looking at 20 grand, 25 grand worth of load testing fees for that entire fire escape at Monroe. Doesn't buy one bolt, doesn't buy one stick of paint.
So if you refurbish it, you don't have to do the load test. And
well, I'm going to go over why, because you have to agree with me what a refurbishment means. And if you don't agree with me, then you don't understand, because it says right on the thing, testing and or satisfactory evidence. What you've been accepting, you and everyone in the United States has been accepting in the past as satisfactory evidence basically an opinion letter. But those opinion letters were being now issued by people who weren't even walking the fire escape anymore, because you guys weren't double checking this paperwork. So, do you want me to walk a fire escape and make $500, or can I just give you a document that I know the fire chief is not even going to look at it and make $500? So, because there was no sheriff in town, these opinion letters started becoming just that, a quick way to make some money from a helpless owner of a building who was like freaked out that he wrote him a violation. Okay. So I'm going to go into I'm going to do this, but I've also shown you how all fire escapes are built.
I got a question about the load test. Do you do one floor at a time, or you
do
the whole thing?
One floor at a time. Every platform at a time, every staircase section at a time. Do you know how long it takes to do that whole building?
Long time.
Long time. So we also have repair guidelines, repair procedures. We also talk about in here how to build new fire escapes. So we put in here some guidelines on how to build a new fire escape. So, and we talked about that spiral, remember? There's a spiral. Even though you can use spirals as a means of egress on a case-by-case basis, every now and then that's your only answer. Every now and then a ladder is going to be the only answer, even though the code prohibits it. But you're going to say on a case-by-case basis, there's no room. The only thing I can put on there with a full metal stairs, the only thing left for me so that trucks don't wipe out this staircase is going to be a ladder, and it's going to be accepted by you and the fire and the building inspector on a case-by-case basis. So let me again go to Fire Escape Academy. I'm gonna get an inspection that's been done. Now here's inspection reports. With today's digital technology, if I'm gonna come tell you that there's a problem with a fire escape, I better give you something, minimally a written report of what the repair guidelines are gonna be and photographs. I can't just tell you, things are bad over there. I need to send you photographs. Now they don't have to be pretty like this, because everybody knows you take any digital camera, you throw it into your computer, it'll print 4 per page, 9 per page, 1 per page. So anybody who inspects, any structural engineer inspecting, better generate a photo report to you that says there's a problem there and here's the photos to prove it. So now reporting is required. So a report must be done so that there's a sit down between the engineer and the inspector to talk about the owner, who's always going to complain about the price, right? So we can't have a conversation with the owner to discuss what should we do based on, well, how much you got to spend. Okay, let's just give it a paint job and let me go speak to the inspector now. Now it's like, here's the problem, here's what needs to be done, what do you want to do? You want a level 1, you want a level 2, you want a level 3, do you want to load test it, or do you want to refurbish it? And he'll say, well, you're going to let me load test it as is, based on the photographs? So the only thing you have is, the second option is fix some of these things and then load test the rest. Will that satisfy you? Or refurbish the whole thing, negate the load test, and by the way, now I'm not going to talk to you about load testing for 25 more years. Because you basically refurbished that fire escape, which is on a 75-year-old building, to a new line in the sand, which is today.
But you still have to check it every year.
Every 5 years you have to do a structural, but then inspector training video. We're looking at a beige fire escape.
Do you usually just go with none of them are balanced right?
Well, they were never. The problem is that one time they were balanced perfectly, so that if you step on the front step, it would come down. But due to snow and ice, they would come down prematurely. So people added weights to the back. So with that being said, let's take a look at a standard. I love beige fire escapes. I love gray fire escapes because they help you see what happens when things are rusted. So
Stairs.
when I say
So
something,
welded.
when I say something on another fire escape when it's all black, it's hard for you to agree with me.
Yes.
But with this now, the evidence is here. All the dragon tears are showing that those welds, you think those welds are compromised in any way.
Yes.
And I need an x-ray to prove that they're good or bad. This connection right here, I need to prove that that weld is good. But is there evidence of rust that got in there because nobody sealed it from above and below?
Yes.
1% of all the fire escapes in the United States are welded for a reason, because they fall apart immediately. So here's the reason why. So now let's get back. So this is a combination welded and bolted. So now let's look at all the bolted treads. Any evidence that water has gotten behind there and compromised every one of those bolts.
Yes.
So the only way I can guarantee you that there's nothing wrong with those bolts is I can load test it. Otherwise, what's another way that I can, for inexpensively, avoid the load test? I just rebolt. So I take those bolts, which are inexpensive, they're 10 cents a bolt.
Clean the bolts.
Clean out the treads, put the treads back after it's been cleaned, seal it with silicone. The fire escape is back into a 25-year cycle. Now, that's down here. This is a brand new cantilever system down here because the previous one was smashed to death, and you can tell why. And they brought it up to 14 feet up above, right?
Yeah.
But now, let's take a look at the system here above. It's still the original fire escape. Now, looking up at the original fire escape, any evidence of maintenance? And they used to have bolts, and they took out the bolts, and what did they do? They welded every tread back in. Okay? Now, what's the rule when you see welded stuff? Load test it and or x-ray it or
rebolt it.
Rebolt it. But if I've got evidence of rust in it, what do I have to do anyway?
You got to take it apart.
I got to take it apart and then put it back together. And not even including the EPA requirement that can you weld fire escapes that have lead on them? Nope. Don't allow you. EPA, anything older than 78, you can't weld it. You can only bolt it. So let's talk about the cement. Can you look up there in that corner right there of that platform going into the wall? How is it?
Bad.
It's bad.
It's cracking.
Cracking.
It looks like it's just filled with the
So you got,
cement.
they've been painting it though, right? It's got, yeah, it's got plenty of paint on it because they keep throwing paint. Have they been fixing it though in its lifetime?
The top stairwell looks like it's just pressure paint.
Yep. You can still see original square head bolts on all the entire fire escape. Cement. We need to verify the connections back into the wall or duplicate them. The treads, somebody went and welded them, so if I find that there's no evidence of rust in them, I still have to rebolt it anyway. Why they didn't just rebolt them anyway is beyond me.
I don't know, but all those corners up there scare me.
Yeah, they're full of rust. So now you can start seeing just exactly what every structural engineer has to look at. Excessive rust in the corners, tiebacks into the buildings and unknowns. And these bolts that hold, see this big huge support going here, and see that big nut on the tip, and the second nut in the middle. I can only guarantee you that if I load test it. But if I keep that, if it's in good condition, and I gusset just behind it and I reinforce it, do I need a load test? But if I leave it alone as is, what do you want?
I want a signature.
Oh no, you want a load test.
Well, yeah.
So if you don't want to load test it, then minimally duplicate, reinforce, or replace that 50 to 75-year-old bolt.
Right.
Otherwise, these opinion letters, do you want these opinion letters anymore?
No.
No. And that will guarantee this fire escape for the occupant and guarantee this fire escape for the fireman.
Yep.
Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. We're here in Springfield. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training video. We're here in Springfield, Illinois, and doing some downtown walkarounds. We've got an inspector in the background, fire prevention. And let's see, this is training on how to inspect a fire escape. Not all the floors, but whether or not from the ground you can see evidence of certain things. Now, do you think that that tail has been hit by a truck and it's passed?
Yes.
So there's with the truck hitting and the steel being bent, the weight box is bent. There's also another thing that's a no-no. See that chain?
Yeah.
That chain, does it look like original or an add-on?
Like an add-on to me.
All right. What that means is because this thing people are breaking in, they put some extra weight on that weight box. Do you see the evidence of additional weight being thrown on a weight box?
On the outside.
Okay, so that means that you, a 150-pound woman with a 50-pound child, would have to go out 5 to 10 steps to activate this. Is that single action requiring no special knowledge?
No.
Okay, see this vehicle down here? Is this a fire lane? Is there any vehicle supposed to be parked down here?
Nope.
So we're probably going to need is probably a bollard somewhere there to basically stop this, because today they stopped here, but tomorrow if they stop ever so slightly up front just to get one more vehicle in behind them, what you're going to get is this thing won't be able to come down. With that, let's take a look at the second thing that you would notice here as an inspector. Any evidence of maintenance, and this is a 75-year-old building, and you're looking at all the original hardware. Is it hex head or square head? All the hardware.
It's all hex. Or square head.
All square heads, indicating that this is all original. So, and you wrote a violation on this. What's the only cure right now for the violation? In your mind?
Refurbishment.
No, well, you have the code is very simple. Load tested, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody was to inspect this and they said this is in pristine condition, the only way to guarantee that it's in pristine condition, because you don't want an opinion letter, you want a load test.
Right.
So if a structural engineer was to come here and inspect this and give you evidence that this fire escape is in pristine condition, he has to perform a load test. He has to oversee a load test and send you some inspection criteria on what needs to be done on this fire escape. Once that load test is done, will you be satisfied to remove the violation? And it passes.
Yes.
And then, more or less, what's the cycle as the code requires to load test this again?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years. So that's one of the options. Load test it every 5 years and give you the document, engineer oversight, and you're happy, right?
Is that IFC code?
Well, again, it's in. You're going to find it in the NFPA. You're going to find it in the fire codes. You're going to find it in the building codes.
And life safety?
Well, again, they may not say the 5-year cycle. Some of them have, and every code say it must be maintained at all times.
That's what I read.
And where the 5-year rule comes into play is that some fire codes pick up the 5-year rule. Some building codes pick up the 5-year rule. And if you are one of those states that doesn't have the 5-year code, what you're going to have is must be maintained at all times. So you literally can walk to this building and force an inspection on it every year if you wish.
That's what our code reads.
Right. So that's where all of a sudden the standards, we're changing the standard nationwide so that it comes in line with everybody else. Everybody in the country is about 5-year cycle for a structural review and a load test. Or on average, if you've refurbished a 75-year-old fire escape, a 50 to 75-year-old fire escape, the average cycle for possible load testing is every 25 years. But that's after a complete refurbishment. And this fire escape has no evidence anywhere. Has evidence of damage, has evidence of rust. How about the cement? Do you see any cement issues? Some rusty tears?
Yes.
You see these called these stains coming down the wall? Sorry about that. Those are called dragon tears, and those are evidence that water's getting into the building. What's the only thing you will allow on this fire escape as proof that the connection into the wall is safe? One is the load test.
Right.
But the second one is, which we explained over
drill.
there. Drill a new hole,
Right.
epoxy bolt it in there, duplicate the connection, keep the original, and now you don't need to verify or load test the connection, because on this 75-plus-year-old building, you duplicated all the connections back into the building so you didn't have to do any damage. So did this fire escape pass or fail?
This right now would fail, in my opinion.
And it needs a load test.
Right. Well, you can see evidence up there where they've packed grout in there.
In the connections.
Yeah, I can just see that on the second story, third story.
Right. So you don't have to go up. on these fire escapes anymore, because from down here, you don't see any evidence of maintenance. You don't see any hex heads, not even on this cantilever. You see any evidence of maintenance. If I was going to cheat you, I would at least change a bolt or two down here. Is that happening anywhere?
No, but we are behind the times on fire escapes.
Well, it's an easy situation.
This is what's going to change it all for you and me.
Perfect. All right, let's take a look at the next. Fire Escape Academy, Inspector Training. Okay, we're down here in Springfield.
Look at that.
And we got a fire escape here that, again, must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So let's go for the easiest part before you write a violation. Has she been kept painted?
It's been kept painted, but it's going to fail. Look at that.
There's no paint on this thing.
No?
It's all rust, 100% rust. So she must be kept painted, must be structurally sound. So now she's already failed the paint test. Can you order a load test if it's got no paint? Yes, because it's part of your maintenance. It's either a maintenance issue or a structural issue. Right now you got a maintenance issue. And I will prove to you that rust grows from the connection out. So as soon as you get a fire escape that's been ignored, and this thing to rust it out 100% took 25 plus years. It rusted from the connection, and look at the railing, I mean, where the ladder meets at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Do you see the remnants of a bolt?
Yeah.
Now, that means that if you let the thing rust 100%, every connection has been compromised. So the worst thing you could ever do to a fire escape is let it rust 100%, because it doesn't rust from the inside out. It actually rusts from the outside in. It rusts from the inside out.
Right.
So right now, this fire escape that somebody in this building has ignored for 25 years, is she structurally sound in any way? So she's compromised every connection. So you write a violation, and the cure.
Somebody working on it up there.
Yep.
You got the wire ties right there holding it up.
Yep. And the ladder broke already. So you think a fireman's already going to get hurt on this one?
Yes.
So this one has one more thing.
It doesn't.
It's got life safety issues.
Yeah.
So now, what has to happen on this particular building when you write the violation on this one? Is it a simple fire escape violation? This is a life
refurbish.
But this is a life safety issue.
Right.
So even before they get a chance to refurbish, even before they get anything, you might order a watch over here. You might order some scaffolding, temporary scaffolding to take this, or you want emergency repairs on this right away, because right now, can any of these tenants get out without this thing collapsing and hurting themselves?
No.
A fireman in the middle of the night with smoky conditions, would he notice these things when he's jumping on this thing?
No.
So is this a life safety issue?
Yes.
So right now you've got situations when you get there, and this is the bastard child of egress. Nobody cares about these things. But this one is not. This is a hand grenade with a pin already pulled out.
Yeah.
Let's go. There's another one right next to it. Let's see what this next one can do. And then we're going to go hit that one over there that looks like it's been kept painted. Somebody just refurbished it and repainted it. So, I thought there was another one here. And we're going to go hit that other fire escape over there. But let's walk around the. Do you know this address?
Yes.
Across. So now. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. Let's take a look at because we're doing what's called a downtown walk around, and we do this all the time with fire departments all over the country. And all these videos are free online, from Boston to California to Seattle to Texas, Chicago. We can get in this way. So the rule in every code, NFPA, building code, fire codes, housing codes, must be kept painted, must be structurally sound. This one looks like somebody kept it painted, right? She looks pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Looks like they changed all the grading out. This looks like a full refurb. Okay. What do you think so far?
I think it looks new.
Looks new. Well, it looks. Let's look at a couple things that we have to concern ourselves with. Is it a bolted fire escape or is it a welded fire escape?
Welded.
Okay. And let me tell you the concerns you might have with weld. Welds, unless they're sealed, do you think the water gets in from above and eats these welds?
Doesn't matter.
So, because they just recently painted this thing, let's take a look at some indication. This is a grade indicator right here. See this grading? Look straight up and look at the angle. You see some bulging happening on the angle that's holding up the grading? So she's tack welded, but you see some bulges. You see that the thing is waving?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's rust behind there.
There's rust behind there. Now look at the treads. Look straight up at these treads.
right?
Yeah.
The bulges?
Yeah, in the center.
So even though she looks great, she looked like a new fire escape to you. Look straight up here. How do you get that big of a bulge?
Rust.
Only rust, right? So this is an all welded fire escape. The only way, actually, let's go down here. Thank God for zoom lens here. Look at every one of those. And do you see bulges in every single one?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're about to write a violation on this one to do what? What's the first order on the
Load test?
I need a load test, right? And the guy's gonna come back to you and say, hey, but I just had it all painted. I just had it refurbished. You say, yes, but I need a structural engineer. I've noticed evidence of rust in your connections. And what's the cure? How can I verify, besides a load test, a welded connection? How can I verify it? Are you aware of what it is?
Yeah.
It's with an x-ray. You know how expensive an x-ray is to x-ray every one of these welds? Yeah. You want to know a cheaper one? If I go in and I drill every single one of these and I put a bolt in there, what's the new connection now? The bolt or the old weld?
The bolt.
But I have a problem because the rust is still in there. So do I just put in new bolts and leave the rust, or do I still have to clean out all the rust?
I'd imagine you have to take off the tread.
Exactly.
And clean it off.
And then put it back with a bolt. So the cure here.
Sealed, painted.
So the cure here is I come in and have a vendor drill holes in the current position. Just drill 2 holes, one in the back, one in the front, prior to cutting off a tread. Then with a little cutting disc, they cut the front weld and the back weld because that's all it has. Remove the tread, clean it, prime it, paint it, put it back on. But back on with a weld or back on with the bolt?
Bolt. Back
on the bolt. If I put back bolts, do I need a load test?
No.
No, perfect. Now let's talk about these supports here. This a welded connection or a bolted connection? Down at the corner here.
The frame is welded.
Right. So you want me to bring out my x-ray machine, or can I just pop a bolt over here? And will you be satisfied if I reinforce that weld with a bolt? The bottom corner.
It's still got to be taken apart and cleaned, doesn't it?
No, it's nice. There's no rust in it. Obviously, anything that has rust in it, we got to always clean. But this is a pristine connection down here, and she's great. A load test will verify that for you, right?
Yeah.
Or an x-ray will verify that for you. But if I pop a bolt through that good connection, do you still want me to load test it?
Well, you gotta see if there's rust down in between those 2 right there.
No, I understand. Let's assume that it's a pristine connection.
Okay.
There is no rust.
And you put it
My question to you is that I can only load test it at great expense, x-ray it at great expense, but as soon as I keep my weld, which is good. Right. Obviously, anything bad I have to fix, like the treads. I have to fix. As soon as I put a bolt in it and I back up that weld with a bolt, do you want me to load test it anymore? Okay. Now let's talk about the connection into the building. See these 2 connections down here into the building?
Yeah.
Now there's enough there to do one of 2 things. There's enough thread coming out of there. Can I do a pull test on that?
Absolutely.
Can I also duplicate that connection, or can I verify it inside the building because maybe there's a plate? So if I provide you with a plate, let's say it's an exposed wall inside, and I provide you with a photograph of the plate and it looks good, the outside is good, the inside is good, do I need to load test it?
No.
So there's the evidence. As long as I give you physical evidence that everything checked out. Otherwise, if I can get inside, it's buried, it's hidden behind sheetrock, can I do an epoxy bolt next to this one, yes, 5 inches away, and avoid the load test? Great. Can I also do a pull test on these with a machine that tests, that verifies? I try to yank that as best I can and it didn't come out.
Yes.
Can I do that in lieu of a load test? It's called a pull test.
I believe so.
Yep, you can. So now you've got this fire escape which looks great, and if you come down here, I still need to load test it. And if you look straight up here, and now you're doing all this from the ground, right? What about that middle grading and the clip that's against the wall? Do you see evidence of rust buildup?
The clip that's against the wall.
The angle that's against the wall.
Yes.
Holding the only piece of grading that every person and every fireman is going to be stepping on during a fire.
Yeah, I see it bubble up.
See it?
It's a really bad weld.
Well, it would be up against it, but if you get underneath it, you can literally see the bulge. Actually, you can only go so far. Oh, sorry about that.
And all the treads, any evidence of rusting on all the treads?
Yeah, they're bulging.
And how about way up there? Now, this is all from the ground. You're not even using zoom or binoculars or anything, are you? And how about this one? How dangerous is that one up there now? So somebody got sold a very nice paint job here.
Yes.
And that's at least 1/2 inch of bulge up there? Okay. So somebody's going to come in and say, hey, I'll load test it as is. Will you allow a load test as is? With, with evidence of rust in the connections. Will you ever load test anything with evidence of rust still in the connection? So I will you will allow any load test to occur as long as the rust in the internal rust has been removed. Otherwise, if somebody wants to load test something that still has internal rust, that engineer is not qualified.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's like me, you know, load testing one of your fire hoses with a big gash on it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, dude, it's got a gash. Oh yeah, it'll be fine. No, it ain't gonna be fine. It's gonna blow up with a high pressure on one of my guys. All right, so this fire escape, which looks pristine, and this happens all the time. Now, let's talk about the weight box here. Let's assume that this is a building that has children and women. See that big weight box there? Yeah. It needs what's called a release arm. And I can actually put a release arm right about here. And that release arm will come down and actually act as a pin, so that only from above, when I push it and I release it, it'll drop 2 to 3 feet per second. Otherwise, I have to walk out so far so that it comes down and drops down. Now, do you have a bollard issue here?
Yes.
Okay, so you got all these vehicles. So if there was an emergency today, we have a problem already today. Okay? She's gonna smash into cars. So we need 2 bollards here. One here, about 4 feet, 5 feet away from the building, because this won't come down. So let's give you a little quick class on what happens. A 150-pound woman and a 50-pound child, right?
Yeah.
Comes down the stairs. They go out to about halfway, and there was no cars here, and she starts coming down. She's already halfway out. Is it going to come down 2 to 3 feet per second or 5 to 10 feet per second?
I'd say 5 to 10.
She hits the ground violently and ejects the mother. As soon as the 150-pound mother is ejected, what happens to the 50-pound child? Back up 10 feet.
Yep.
The mother is down below here. She's going to ask that child to do what?
Come out farther.
Come out farther and do what?
To get it down.
And jump down.
Yeah.
No, the 50-pound child will never get this down.
Yeah.
When you guys arrive, you guys have to use your pike pole to pull this thing down to get that child off. And then one of your guys has to sit here during the whole fire and hold it down. Otherwise, what happens to this thing?
It'll go back up.
It'll go back up, trapping any and all firemen to repeat the process. So this is supposed to have a release arm here. It's supposed to be perfectly balanced with 25 pounds on the nose the most. And it drops by itself. And then when you reposition it, there's a guy down at the bottom, a guy at the top with a release arm handle, and this guy throws it up. That's how perfectly balanced it is, like a seesaw. He just throws it up with his hands, and the guy up there reconnects it back in, and it's set for the next fire. That's how a drop cantilever is supposed to work, okay? All right, let's go look at another one. So did this one pass or fail? Fail. Even though it looks great. Looks great, but she failed because there's rust in every tread connection and rust in every platform connection. So, Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training video. We're here in Springfield, Illinois. The reason I like this one is because it's already giving you a nice color, gray. You know what looks horrible against gray? Brown rust. So, this fire escape is just like that other one, all welded.
Yes.
But what is this one telling you?
What'd you call it?
It's called ice jacking, rust jacking. So you see now, you asked me,
you can see it.
Is that the metal?
Yeah.
And you said, and I said, no, this is because, but now all those rusty tears is an indicator that these are solid treads or not solid treads?
Not solid.
Not solid, okay. So is the cantilever balanced or unbalanced, to your knowledge? With that much weight thrown on it. Look at all the packed on weight back there. What do you think?
Unbalanced.
Will she drop 2 to 3 feet per second, or do you have to come out halfway in order to activate this?
You're gonna have to come out halfway at least.
Another problem that you're having is that not only does it have to be activated by the people here, who has to stand here while you're fighting a fire and hold it down for everybody?
A crew member.
One of your crew members, which you've lost.
Yep.
A professional, a guy that's supposed to be sitting here saving people and fighting fire. Look way down there, pigeon poo. What do you think that does to this fire escape?
Rust.
It's acidic. It'll eat that steel like nothing. let's look at the joints. Now this fire escape is probably about 50 years old, and you're looking for evidence of rust. And now let's see that C channel just above the line of the roof.
Yes.
Do you see the bulge on that C channel?
Yes.
Does it look like rust is getting in there?
I see it, yeah. I can see the rust line.
See it?
Right, next to that, or
Yep.
above that light.
Yep. So now you're seeing what happens when you have fire escapes that they didn't seal the joints. Water and air gets in there every day. How about the roof ladder? That's for you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you don't have to climb these fire escapes to see that, but basically you've got rust problems here now. Just look at that one staircase that you can see from here. And is there any rust growing on that staircase inside? And I'm going to zoom in to the stairs on the right side.
Yes, I see it.
You see it. So you
can see the bulging end.
And see the bulging, and because
the third stair down.
exactly, and they've been painting it, so that's good. The fact that they've been painting it is only half the issue. It must be kept painted, must be structurally sound. So do you have a paint issue with this fire escape?
No.
But do you have a structural issue?
Yes.
What's the only cure right now that you'll accept?
It's got to be refurbished.
Well,
If you do a load test,
if you do
you can't do a load test because it's already rusted. You know?
Right. But even so, can they spot repair and load test some of the fire escape?
Yes.
Perfect. Otherwise, you can do a full load test, or if you refurbish the entire fire escape, seal all the joints, will you forego the load test and put this into a 25-year cycle?
Yes.
Perfect. All this inspection criteria must be sent to you. So this is not done out of the box. They don't do this without your knowledge. Every engineer and every vendor that is refurbishing a fire escape that your firemen use are going to be speaking with you on a daily basis, send you inspection criteria that you will sign off on, have an action plan for everything that's going to be done before any repairs, before any load testing is done. You need a guaranteed load test, or you need a guaranteed certified refurbishment in lieu of a load test.
Yep.
Otherwise, nothing short of that is accepted. Any repair work done in this city, you want it with or without a permit from the building department? With a building permit. How about some minor jobs, minor, and the owner's got to fix it himself? Would you allow an owner to self-fix?
Nope, it's got to be a certified fire escape.
Okay. It's your call, and because it's going to be a case-by-case basis, if some building owner wants to pull a homeowner's permit to fix, not a commercial building, homeowner, like a house or something, he has to discuss that with you anyway, correct?
If it's a house, private residence, that's his deal.
Right.
If it's commercial, it falls under me.
Very good. All right. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. We're here in Springfield, Illinois. Let's go. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training video. Here we are in Springfield, Illinois, and this is a great one. Life safety, truck smash. Many things wrong with this fire escape, but let's not look at the obvious. We have an inspector here from the city, fire prevention. It's a fire marshal. Let's not deal with this issue right now, but that's a great giveaway that there's a problem here. But must be kept painted, must be structurally sound. So let's look up.
Unpainted.
Unpainted, so that's all you need to write a violation, right?
Right, original bolts.
And then from that paint, can I write a request for load testing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's say they pristinely painted like that other guy did. Let's get into the next question. Original hardware or evidence of maintenance? Can you look up and see any evidence of maintenance on this 50 to 75-year-old structure?
Negative.
So that forces it right into a load test and or a document that guarantees the certification and the refurbishment of it with engineer oversight. Do you ever want any iron worker working all alone by himself fixing this without having an engineer oversight letter to you that specifically designs and tells you exactly what's going to be done to every one of these connections?
I wouldn't let an iron worker do it unless he was certified.
Well, no. The iron worker is going to be a licensed. Everything's an assumed thing. Okay. A licensed and certified and insured iron worker.
Okay.
Can he work unsupervised? First of all, without a permit. He needs a permit.
Can't work.
Does the building official have time to oversee this, or does this need what's called engineer oversight? Because if a fire escape is either going to be load tested or refurbished, must it have engineer oversight that you are aware of?
Yes.
So there's a structural engineer oversight going on this, and that engineer is showing up 3 to 5 times here while that licensed vendor is doing all his work. Because who are you going to believe at the end that says this is done? The vendor, who might cheat here and there, or the engineer whose stamp must go on this confidence test.
The guy's whoever has his name on the piece of
So
paper.
he's getting paid to be here 3 to 5 visits. The permit, the final guy that's going to sign off on it is the building inspector, but he's waiting for the engineer to say everything's cool.
Right.
And you're the final guy that says, hey, am I load testing this, or was this a certified refurbishment?
Right.
This was a certified refurbishment in Louisville load test. Great. Where's the docs? I know the guy that's been overseeing it. So right now we have a fire escape here that the cement is a problem, all the connections are a problem, it hasn't been painted, so every connection has been compromised.
Yeah.
With all that being said, let's get to the fact that it's a cantilever. Is there a release arm on this in any way? Have they added 1 million pounds to it?
Yeah.
This is some crazy color psychedelic thing going on here. Will it go down? Look at that cable. Oh, sorry, look at that cable.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, so will this function correctly to your knowledge?
No.
All right, so this is a big, and this is because trucks, this is at least 14 feet. So one of their biggest problem was trucks were smashing the hell out of it. And that, with that being said, what do we have here? Damage from a truck. Now, can firemen get to the roof on this one? So even though this is a dead building, do you think that this is a dead building or this is an active building?
I don't know.
Well, look at, is that power going to it? Is that dead? I mean, it's got power. Let's see what you think this building is. Could be storage. She's got power going into it. It's an elevator.
Got something on 4 side on there, so something nasty in it.
So it looks like there's some possible activity in this building, but it looks like they've secured the whole ground floor from break-ins using wood. And we have several buildings. Actually, we have another fire escape right down there that we're going to go look at right after this one. And also, we've got 4 wood structures over there. That's going to be on a separate video. And we're going to inspect 4 wood structures today.
It's empty, but it's got a small fire load in it, but it doesn't matter because it's connected to those other buildings and it's inside the
perfect. So
fire
this is
district, so it's got to comply. It's got to be.
well. Here's how it can comply. A couple of issues to help you, because some of these people are going to say it's a dead building. I got no income. You know, take the building for taxes or whatever. So here's what needs to be done. If this fire is going to be, or this building is going to be subject to what's called surround and drown. So I've got a few buzzwords that you guys use. There's a couple things you need. And on this fire escape, if it's not going to get fixed right away, and this building is not one that you're going to be able to get in and get access to the roof and puncture a hole and ventilate and all those things, you need signage on this that says this thing's a dead fire escape. You need warning signs on this fire escape that says don't get on it. You need warning signs on this wall here because this guy's basically blocked off any ability to basically break windows and get in and out of here. So you need signage on here that says don't go in the building, right? So you guys can basically X off this building, which the owner probably doesn't want because it means his insurance is not going to be on it when you have X's all over it.
Dubs
So
list. Dangerous, unsafe building.
right, so right now he needs to make a decision because right now, even though this fire escape is made for the occupants and it has none, so this building's actually for you guys. So he has to make this thing functional so that at any time you arrive, you can fight this fire. Your men can get off this building while you're fighting the fire without having to wait for an apparatus. So either fix it or get the label on this as an unsafe building. So that's what happens here on these fire escapes. So whenever you have a dead building, you give the owner the option. Let me mark it up and say you can't use it. And whether or not the rest of the building is going to get marked unsafe, minimally this fire escape needs to be done. Now, do you know what happens when you have insurance on a building and it gets a hit? This is called a hit and run. Do you know that the insurance company and the guy has a $5,000 deductible? The insurance has to fix 100% of this fire escape because of this smash.
We call this a fire escape lottery ticket for some owners who say, "Oh my God, you know, I don't have the money." Like, dude, the insurance is going to pay for it. Do you know what truck hit it? He goes, "Yeah, it was the trash truck." Well, then there is no deductible. The trash truck will fix 100% because I just can't fix this down here. Right. I must fix 100% of the fire escape to bring it back into operational condition. So this is what's called a fire escape lottery ticket for the owner. Right. But if the owner doesn't want to deal with it, has no insurance or whatever, there needs to be some markings for your men on this fire escape that this is an unsafe structure. So any fire escape that they don't want to fix right away, you got to mark it unsafe structure.
They have to take it down.
No, they have to keep it because it'll kill the egress of this building, so it's not down. Just they mark it as an unsafe structure so that in case of a fire, you guys don't use it.
Our city code says either it works or you take it out.
Woo, there you go. So do you have things? Let's do.
You have to petition to take it out.
Well, if they take it out, they're going to kill the means of egress. There's one last small one, and then we're going to go do those wood ones.
Exactly, so that we the only option leaves the guy is replace it.
Yeah, fix it or replace it. Because you can fix that. They're still fixing. Tell me about this one. We're going down the alleyway here. And this is a simple fire escape ladder. Obviously an active building. I hear sounds, I hear a bar. It's actually a blocked door or a black thing. So how are you going to get into this building? Lots of electric nearby. What happens when you got so much electric nearby?
Arcing.
Arcing with all the hosing. Hit by trucks? Hit by something. Look at all the bends.
Look how bent it is.
So, and then the rails are gone. So use it or lose it rule, right?
Yeah.
Applies here. And is there any other means of egress off the second floor other than a single means of egress? Did they illegally block this door by mistake?
I believe they might have.
Okay. And you have this new power source that came in right after the fact. Mm-hmm. So this might be one of those situations where they're going to have to create some sort of blockage so that there's no arcing that goes on. And basically with those orange protectors of some sort, and then make this thing come down over here somewhere.
Actually, probably have to take the whole thing out and rebuild it farther down in a different location.
Well, she's coming out of the ground here, so yeah, we'll do whatever needs to be done. But basically, you're correct. When you're fighting a fire and you're throwing tons of water at this building,
don't want to get anywhere near
you don't want to arc it up. So let's go do that wood structure down there.
We've got them.
Fire escape engineers, Inspector Summary Video, Inspector Manassas here. We're here in Springfield, Illinois. We're looking at this particular building here. A couple of issues on this fire escape. We got an original fire escape on the upper floors, and it looks like a new cantilever system was built, and it looks fairly new. The tread construction is fairly new construction. A couple of issues. We are seeing some evidence of water getting in, so these bolts are going to have to be either load tested and or changed out if it's cheaper, simply because we got evidence of rusty tears coming through the back end of it on these. Fire escape is counterweighted backwards, so people have to walk out third or half of the way in order to activate this. And in case of fire, you're going to need a fireman to hold it down on the ground, so it's out of balance. Needs a release arm to keep people from pulling it down, and it needs to be balanced, so that weight system needs to be played with in order to make this fire escape system drop. We do have rusty tears coming in, and that's typical on some of the welded components. If you don't seal these from above, this is what's going to happen. So now every one of these welded connections is compromised. Every one of these welded connections is compromised, so we need to go in and clean that, and then we also need to re-bolt it. You can't weld it back in there, you have to re-bolt it. Any place that has a welded connection, I want a bolt. In lieu of a load test, I want a bolt in there, so whenever, for example, I think we have this one right here, it's a new add-on. It's welded, so as soon as you bolt it and you seal it, we're good. This one down here, same thing, this is welded. As soon as you bolt it and seal it, we're good. Looks like there's been some add-ons. I don't know if there was a truck damage or something, but we need to verify the connections into the wall or duplicate the connection in lieu of a load test. And some of these triangles, especially the one up above, for example, that's holding the pivot, as soon as you bolt that up, we don't have to load test it or have it, don't have to have an x-ray to verify the welded connection. So, with that being said, the last piece of this puzzle that I'm concerned about is these treads. Somebody took out all the bolts and then just welded them back into position, and basically that means that, you know, they've let the rust and the water get in there. So
Every one of these needs to be rebolted and sealed from above. If there's any of them that have a rust in the connection that's excessive, it needs to be cleaned out prior to rebolting. But 100% of these need to be rebolted and sealed. All the connections into the wall, these are all 50 to 75-year-old connections, and they need to be verified, load tested, and or duplicated in lieu of a load test. And that could be with an epoxy bolt or a through bolt, depending on what this building is inside. If this building is open on the inside, we can just basically put in a through plate, 3/4 through plate, and either single duplication or unification of the platforms can be done to avoid that. These connections on the outside of these supports, those are 50 to 75-year-old bolts. Those can stay if they're in good condition, but then I need a gusset just behind it to basically nullify the fact that that's a 50 to 75-year-old bolt, and that only a load test will verify that. As soon as you put a gusset behind there, we don't need to load test, and we nullify the need. Any and all railing connections need to be cleaned. Any and all connections on the braces on the fire escape railings need to be rebolted. And then spot paint enough to make this thing pass. Looks like they've been keeping it painted, so painting is not the issue. So you do have to spot paint all your work and any rust. But this fire escape does have enough paint on it, just need to spot paint on it. Otherwise, a full paint job is recommended in order for it to get a 10-year warranty, and any all vendors should be offering a 10-year warranty if a full paint job is inclusive. The other thing too is that this fire escape is older than 1978, so you must be a licensed renovator to handle this fire escape. Due to the EPA lead laws, you must be a licensed renovator in touching this fire escape. Any questions? Fire escape engineers, inspector summary video. This is Inspector Meneses. 800-649-3333. 800-649-3333. We're here in Springfield, Illinois. Now go slowly up before you don't go too fast up, because she's gonna want to come up. So go ahead. I just want to see where the counterbalance is at. Okay, right about there. Very good. As you can see, it's kind of violent. Don't be scared. You're not going to pass the ground in case you fall. All right, let's start the process all over again. So if this was an evacuation, you have to be ginger a little bit, I'm sure. Be safe. Go ahead. And now you have no emergency going on, but you're about a third of the way there. You can make it come down as fast as you want. Don't worry about it. This is just, I just want to pretend it's a there's an emergency. Because usually during a fire, you're not going to have that much time. If I was behind you, I'd be kicking your butt right now, saying, "Dude, what are you waiting for?"
They wouldn't when that bounces.
Good. It hit the ground. Very good. All right. So now, do me a favor, and you're going to step off of it for a second, and I want you to see how quickly it goes back up. But catch it so it doesn't go far. Let it go and grab the grip. All right. So now bring it down, and just. We're doing a fire escape inspection.
Oh.
All right, so now you're gonna just hold it in position, put your foot on it. This just indicate what a fireman would have to do in case there's a fire. Somebody would have to sit here and physically hold the thing. So if you can hold it down here for a second, I'm just gonna do a quick run up.
Move my leg over.
Yep, so we got some rust in on the top of these treads. So that's an indication that they changed the bolts, but the rust has actually been building up in there. And some areas have more rust than others. Okay. But again, it's not that bad, but you got at least an eighth of growth of rust. From up here, you can see where the water's accumulating and getting in there between the angle, and that's mainly the only thing holding other than this crisscross. There's been some reinforcement of these plates back here. But again, welded connections that weren't sealed, and you're getting water eating up the welds. Some rusty tears on some of these. So it looks like a lot of these, they basically popped the bolts, but then instead of, they did a full bead weld on the top on these. So as soon as you put the bolts back in this thing and sealed any more water from getting in there, we should be all right. You've got your shoes that that are basically rotting out the top. So these need to be cleaned and then sealed. And look how much you're getting there. Structural crack on the entire wall because these things through rust jacking and ice jacking split these things. A lot of rust buildup in these corners, as you can see there. A lot of rust buildup in these corners there. A lot of rust buildup, pop bolts, shoes, standard maintenance requirements. So a lot of these treads, I think, here, up here at the top, these are the original truss rods. They go through. I think the bottom was, we may not have that truss rods. I gotta check. Again, gusset plate these back here to avoid having to load test that. Gusset plate it back here to avoid having to load test that. You need to verify through a pull test. Make sure that's still anchored well into the building. Get behind here and clean these things out. Then seal these up with silicone or tar to avoid. Seal that corner up so that water doesn't get back in there, cause any rust jacking or ice jacking. So again, welded. As soon as you bolt this back up again, the welds don't need to be load tested and or x-rayed for verification purposes. A lot of these brackets, a lot of these boxes that hold your grating need to be rebolted in all the corners. Ladders have all original hardware, change those out. Original hardware, change those out. Tie backs into the building. Re-verify this is the fire escape for the firemen. Look at that. Exposed nut and bolt. And down there you can see the exposed nut and bolt there. So change those all out. Make sure you have no wires or anything here that's going to hurt somebody. And with that, fire escape needs refurbishment and or load testing in order to satisfy the fire marshal's violation. Any questions? Fire escape engineers, Inspector Meneses, 800-649-3333.
Yeah, it's a challenge for me to get my world inside your mind. Yeah. You know it's so challenging to leave this petty world behind. Yeah, stupendously fly, deal on a girl, straight kickin', dates on the weekends, had them string like a violin. I would bug off your beauty, but only deep as a skin. Thought about me, helping you to see the mountains. You still in the fly cars with dip rims, flirt with cats blatant about intending to hit skins. But interesting, even though you flow with the crowd and you a popular gal, I still wild by possibilities of me and you, us. But it's a challenge for me to get my world inside your mind. Yeah. You know it's so challenging to leave this petty world behind. Come on. Back in high school, we was wet behind the ears new, immature and had no clue, raising hell trying to be cool. But now we're grown up. Now we're grown up. It be like that. Opposites attract, positive and negative react. But on the real, I can't deal with certain omens. I got too much hate for Caesar to be a Roman. Yo, I'm way past playing the game of fitting in. When I fought just to get out the box I was sitting in, society's a runaway train bound to plummet, and I'm leaning off, waiting for the moment to jump from it. Yo, I know that you enjoy going clubbing. I'd rather be just with you hugging, cause life indeed is all about loving. I'm trying to be the man that others wasn't, but you gotta work with me, baby. Yo, stop fighting against me, pretty lady. Come on, yo, enough of my life. Enough of my life has been petty. Don't you know we got to go? I'm trying to grow with me, baby. Yo. leave my world inside your mind. You know it's so challenging to leave this petty world behind.